Hello and welcome to highlights of stage 14 of La Vuelta A Espana, starting today in Avilés and ending up another mountain to La Farapona. 135.9 Ks, relaxed all round. Smiles there from David Gaudu, already a stage win in the bag for the Frenchman and a stint in the red jersey. And concentration and conversations on the start line between Jay Vine and our current race leader, Jonas Vingegaard. Mats Pedersen also smiling. Giulio Pellizzari there in white ahead of stage 14. Here's what's on the menu. Another very hilly day. All of the climbs backloaded, 3,805 metres of elevation, including the final haul to the line at La Farapona. And a climb just before that as well, with exceptionally steep slopes. It was expected that a breakaway would go away, and that was indeed the case. Under sunny skies, and eventually it was 24 riders that went clear. With numerical superiority, it was Decathlon AG2R with 4 riders in the break, including Stone Mittet and Bruno Amirai, who again was one of the best placed riders in the move. They opened up a lead of approximately 5 minutes, Amirai doing a lot of the riding for his Norwegian compatriots. Stone Mittet going over the first climb of the day. It was in fact Marc Soler, one of 2 representatives of UAE Team Emirates in the mix. Michael Bjerg also up there, but Garofoli in second place and Stone Mittet in third. But Jay Vine still strong in the King of the Mountains lead. The only intermediate sprint of the day came with 46 Ks to go. That went the way of Dion Smith, the New Zealander. Meanwhile, the gap had extended to beyond 5 minutes as we hit the penultimate climb of the day, the climb of the San Lorenzo. And at this point, it was UAE Team Emirates who took up the chase behind. Ivo Oliveira putting in a good shift as riders started to drop away from the back of the peloton. Santiago Buitrago suffering, and also, surprisingly in fact, Egan Bernal of Ineos Grenadiers really starting to suffer. Juan Ayuso putting in a big stint for his team as well. And another rider who was up there earlier on in this race, Giulia Ciccone, could not stick with the pace either. With still 35 kilometres to go. Ayuso was riding strongly. Jay Vine just behind. UAE Team Emirates were intent on making this a difficult day for the riders in the general classification. Over the top of Le San Lorenzo, it was a British rider who crested first, taking maximum points. EF Education Easy Post James Shaw from Derby went clear just over the top and opened off a nice little lead. The gap at this point had come down. Maxed out at over 5 minutes, was now at 3.5 minutes. As you can see, high speeds on the descent, which would take us to the final climb. Still, UAE Team Emirates kept the chains tight at the front, trying to make sure that the break didn't get too far in front. And just before the commencement of the final climb to La Farapona, James Shaw was caught by another little clutch of riders, including Stone Mittet. Also there as well was Marc Soler. The job at the front from Juan Ayuso was done for the day. The gap now down to 3 minutes and 20 seconds with a small clutch of riders, still with a handsome lead as we headed into the final. Jay Vine suffered a little bit of a mechanical. He just dropped off the back of the bunch. He was soon back in contact, but meanwhile Marc Soler had gone clear with Johannes Stone Mittet of Decathlon. And after a little bit of assistance and some beat-ons for his teammate, the King of the Mountains leader Jay Vine regained the front of the group. But at this point, further up the road, Marc Soler stamped violently on the pedals and broke the will of the Norwegian that he was in company with and made a lone bid for glory. 3 wins already in the bag in the Vuelta, but looking for another. But then we saw the quite bizarre sight at that time of his teammates chasing behind. Previously in the break, Michael Bjerg was back in the bunch and chasing behind. And after a long stint on the front, Jay Vine peeled off, leaving Felix Groschartner to set the pace. Another big day in the office for the Australian. Up in front, there was a change of order. Stone Mittet was brought back. It was Kevin Vermaak and Finlay Pickering who went clear. The young British rider, 22 years of age, riding his first ever Grand Tour, riding exceptionally well. And his gap to our sole leader out in front, Marc Soler, was around 1 minute and 30 seconds. Kevin Vermaak eventually went back to the peloton, which at this point was being led by the best young rider, Giulia Pellizzari. The group had split. There was only about 10 riders left, and within the closing kilometre, Finlay Pickering was caught, but this man was absolutely flying to victory. Jai Hindley put in an attack with about 600 metres to go, taking João Almeida and our race leader Jonas Vingegaard with him. Tom Pidcock struggling to keep in contact with the flying Australian. But this man was not to be caught. What a race for UAE Team Emirates. This was to be the 7th, yes, the 7th victory of La Vuelta. Absolutely superb scenes for Marc Soler. That's 4 wins in La Vuelta in his career. Then we had a real battle for second place and the all-important time bonuses. A grimace there from João Almeida. Was it going to be a 1-2? On the line, though, he was rolled by Jonas Vingegaard, who took second place on the day, third for João Almeida, and a brave 4th place there, a battling 4th place, in fact, for Jai Hindley. What can anybody do about UAE Team Emirates XRG? They are on a roll. Delight all round for the Spaniard. Almeida still in the mix, although he conceded 2 seconds. But what can you say about the fighting spirit and the quite unusual tactics? But it is reaping dividends, that's for sure. Congratulations there for the teammates. Almeida smiling, Vingegaard grimacing. Vingegaard importantly stealing 2 seconds back. A very valuable second place for him today. So let's have a look at the result of stage 14. Marc Soler took the win. 39 seconds in the end was his advantage over Jonas Vingegaard, with Almeida in second. Hindley, Gold, Pellizzari, Riccitello and Pidcock. This man is getting used to standing on the podium of the Vuelta. His first win this year. And who would rule out more stage wins for UAE Team Emirates? So let's have a look at the general classification. Jonas Vingegaard extending his lead by 2 seconds. He has a 48-second advantage over João Almeida, with Pidcock down there in 3rd place. But Jai Hindley making inroads into Pidcock as well. He's there in 4th place. So a smile for this man. He's looking good, looking solid. And also has moved up the classification in the King of the Mountains as well. Jay Vine's lead slashed to 7 points, but the Australian will move into stage 15 in the polka dot jersey. And he also has the not too small consolation of taking 2 stage wins along the way. No wonder this man is smiling. What a race it's been for Jay Vine and his team. So then, shall we look ahead to stage 15 of this race? It starts in Alviega and we end up in Monforte de Lemos, 167.8 k's, 3,200 metres of elevation. And as you can see, most of the climbing stacked at the front end. In fact, we go straight up the first category climb. Could be one for the breakaway, maybe not for the GC. Make sure you tune in to find out.